This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Popular blogger killed because of gang war, says cops. Police say an ongoing gang feud is behind the gun attack that claimed the life of a well-known media practitioner blogger in Hayes, Clarendon on Saturday night. Dead is 36-year-old Leon McNeil, more popularly known as YouTuber Lee Gates. Lee Gates, who was killed by unknown assailants at a party in Hayes in the parish, was among 3 men who were killed in 2 separate gun attacks on Saturday. Information reaching the news are that about 8:55 p.m., a group of men approached McNeil and opened fire at him at the event. Another patron was also injured during the gunfire. McNeil and the wounded individual were transported to the hospital, where the former reportedly died while being treated. The other injured person was hospitalized in stable condition. Many social media users believe McNeil was shot dead because of comments he made about a double murder in Portland Cottage in the parish a few hours earlier. In the double murder, Derek Red Fox Matthews, 39, a taxi driver from Wildman Town, Portland Cottage, and Michael Newland, 47, from Broadville, Lionel Town in Clarendon, were shot dead on Portland Cottage Main Road. The Lionel Town police said about 4:10 p.m., Matthews was transporting residents, including Newland, in his public passenger vehicle. Upon reaching a section of the Portland Cottage Main Road, he pulled over to let out a passenger. It is alleged that the same passenger brandished a firearm and opened fire at the vehicle before fleeing the scene. The police were summoned, and on their arrival, both men were seen with multiple gunshot wounds. They were taken to the hospital, where they were pronounced dead. But police sources say McNeil, who operated Lee Gates TV and Entertainment, might have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. According to lawmen, an ongoing feud between men in the area is believed to be what caused the attack at the party where McNeil and the other man was shot. McNeil was prominent in covering the Cocoa Peace Clarendon murders of 5 people, including a woman and her 4 children, last June. Westmoreland teen killed months after father and a brother shot dead. A teen whose father and a brother were murdered months apart in Whithorn, Westmoreland, was killed by gunmen in the same community on Saturday night. Delano Gale, 19, a construction worker, was shot dead and his grandfather injured when the gunmen attacked them at home. The grandfather, 84, has been admitted to hospital. It was reported that about 11:40 p.m., both men were at home with other family members when they heard a loud banging on the back door. The door was then kicked open, and the 2 men entered the house, brandished the firearms, and opened fire at Gale. The police said Gale ran into his grandfather's room in fear for his life. The gunmen continued to fire several other gunshots in his direction before leaving the area on foot. When the shooting subsided, Gale was found with multiple gunshot wounds to his upper body, and his grandfather was found suffering from gunshot wounds to his legs. Gale was pronounced dead at hospital, while his grandfather was admitted. On June 24, Gale's brother Deron, 23, was shot dead by a gunman at a wake in the community. His father, Derek Gale, succumbed to gunshot wounds on May 2 after being shot on December 29 of last year. Deron and Derek were buried 2 weeks ago. Police sources state that Delano had been a witness in his father's murder, and the 2 attempts on his life had been made prior to Saturday night. A man identified as Theodore Reed, popularly known as Pecos, was held for Deron's murder. Reed was arrested after he was featured on the police's Wanted Wednesday campaign on July 1. Reed, who hails from Ancha District in Whithorn in Westmoreland, surrendered to the police, accompanied by his attorney, on July 3. He was subsequently charged. Fallen tree destroys a family home in Portland. 4 members of a family in Bonebrook, Portland, escaped serious injuries after a tree smashed the roof and demolished their zinc and board home early this morning. Lynette Johnson, who was inside the home with her children, said the tragedy unfolded at about 6:30. Jackson says she had been seeking help to remove the tree from her yard.
There's a tree around my house back. When we try to get help, we cut it down, but we couldn't reach out to the help to tear it down. So it come down this morning and tear down the wall of my house back in the house. My little boy, that is like, people serve God. Because when he shout out this morning, then we run go and ice up debris and something to get him out from underneath the tree and show you God good. The spot where he used to lie down to sleep, pan, at the same spot the tree come down, pan. It's a good thing over the bed corner him there.
Several roads in St. Thomas impassable. In St. Thomas, the Mahogany Vale to Hagley Gap and the Hagley Gap to Newcastle main roads have been heavily scored, rendering them impassable for small vehicles. Motorists traveling along the Penline Castle main road will also encounter challenges. Residents also say the community of Hagley Gap has been without power since last night. A team from the JPS has reportedly been dispatched to the area. Poor state of lockups affecting health of police officers. The poor state of lockups across the island has again come to the fore, with Police Federation saying the situation is affecting the health of some police officers. Chairman of the Police Federation, Corporal Rohan James, says it is important for funding to be made available to remedy the situation at these facilities. He says many officers continue to incur significant medical expenses due to poor working conditions. Corporal James stated that 85% of sick days in the St. Andrew Central Division are from the Halfway Tree Police Station due to the poor conditions of the lockup. He says recommendations from public health departments for urgent attention to lockups continue to be ignored by the authorities.
We would have seen where some of these plants have outlived their usefulness, but we still continue to ignore the recommendations from the Ministry of Health. Barnett Street is one such which is condemned by the Ministry of Health, and consequently work cannot be done on that facility as is required. And no human being should be even at Barnett Street since the Ministry of Health condemns it.
DPP had no choice but to remove death penalty notice for Shane Barnett, attorneys say. Two senior attorneys says the Director of Public Prosecutions had no option but to remove the death penalty as a sentencing option for Shane Barnett, who pleaded guilty to killing his cousins in Cocopese, Clarendon. During Barnett's first court appearance, the DPP's office had served a notice that it would seek the death penalty. However, during a sentencing hearing on Friday, the DPP said her office would no longer be pursuing that option. Attorney Bert Samuel says the death penalty is reserved for extreme cases considered the worst of the worst. He says this case took an interesting twist when Barnett pleaded guilty, as the matter would have been brought up before the Privy Council, and once they saw the guilty plea, the worst of the worst consideration would have been removed. Barnett pleaded guilty on July 28 to the murder of 31-year-old Kimisha Wright and her children, 15-year-old Kimanda Smith, 12-year-old Sharolee Smith, 5-year-old Rafaela Smith, and the 23-month-old Keshawn Henry. He is scheduled to be sentenced on October 20.
These cases have to survive the Privy Council's overview now. Once it's a death penalty case, there are lawyers in England who will offer themselves freely to pursue the appeal in the Privy Council. So it would have gone to the Jamaican Court of Appeal. And once it comes before the Privy Council, if they saw the DPP was right, if they saw that he pleaded guilty, then it moves the worst of the worst consideration. And the added factor in my view is that there was not an accompanying felony in these killings. So the worst of the worst is usually accompanied by a rape or burglary or robbery. This was just pure domestic killing in its nature. So it shifted from the worst of the worst and moved into another place.
Tropical storm Ian causes disruption for some JPS customers. Company says it's working to restore power. The Jamaica Public Service is advising customers in some southern and western parishes that they are working to have normal service restored. In a release on Sunday, the Light and the Power Company said interruptions were reported in small pockets in the parishes of St. Andrew, St. James, and Trelawney. Affected areas include sections of Ligoni in St. Andrew, Red Ground and the Flanker District in St. James, and the Black Wind D-side in Trelawney. JPS assured as it explained that waterlogged soil resulting from recent rainy conditions and lightning remain the biggest threats to stability of the power supply. The company said it will continue to closely monitor the situation to address customers' needs as they arise. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.